Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Boro Fan TV and the Monday Night Show with me, James Hutchinson. This week, I'm joined by Tony Guest and Jacob Waters. How are you both doing, boys?
All right. Fine, James. Thanks.
Good. Lots of happy, smiley faces amongst Boro fans at the minute. There's a lot happened, Boro fans, since our show last week. We had a thrilling encounter down in West London last Wednesday where we took on fellow promotion contenders QPR and came away with a point. Maybe it could have been more. And at the weekend, we had the Demolition Derby at the Riverside, where there was no love lost on the day. And I'm sure loads of people want to talk about that game tonight and everything around Derby County and the Boro at the minute. Let us know, Boro fans, on your thoughts on events of the last week. Can Boro sustain this push for the top six? Got a big game at the weekend again, away to Bristol City. So there's loads to get through, loads to talk about. As always, it's your show. So play your part on this Monday Night Show. So, Tony, coming to you first, mate. Great to see you again.
And you, James.
We'll go back to last Wednesday, Tone, first. I think there was a consensus of opinion before we played QPR, Tony, that any sort of positive result we'd get down there, it'd be a good one. But I think it turned out in a way that, regardless of the result, our reputation was enhanced from that display last Wednesday, wasn't it?
Yeah, like you say, since Wilder come in, things have changed around completely. Then, after a couple of iffy games against Blackburn and a scrappy own 1-0 win at home to Coventry, you were just starting to, waver a bit, thinking, is Wilder's honeymoon period over? And then, obviously, we go to Old Trafford and get an absolutely fantastic result. Then, off the back of that, to go to QPR, who've been absolutely flying, beat us at the Riverside with 10 men earlier on in the season. And like you say, the consensus was amongst the fans, and at any point, anything we came away with, it'd be good, as long as we didn't get beat. And from the way we performed, from the first minute till the last, I think it took us all aback, you know what I mean? Because whatever Wilder's saying to him to get a tune out of him, he railroaded him. I think was it after the Coventry game? I can't remember now.
Blackburn won it away. Blackburn away.
Was it the Blackburn? And he's getting an absolute tune out of all of them, James. And the way we performed, and like you say, maybe if it wasn't for the clanger dropped by the goalkeeper, we might have came away with 3 points. But, he is our weakest link, but he's our keeper. Do you know what I mean? He's going to get criticism, whether he has a good game or a bad game now, because that's the way things are. But the QPR performance, which my memories of Loftus Road, we always seem to perform well down there. So, and it's always a bit of a thriller. And yeah, totally, every single one of them came off that pitch with a heart bursting out the shirts because they give absolutely everything.
Yeah. David Smith's pleased to see you back, Tony. Hope you're well, David. And Jacob, great to have you back on the show as well again, mate. Damon LaRoche has got in touch with us and he said the QPR performance was quality off the back of the Man U game and it was always going to be tough and we were unlucky not to win at QPR. And I think, again, that was something that a lot of Boro fans and Chris Wilder alluded to after the game in his press conference, that people were worried that there might be a bit of a reaction after the Man United game. But he brought in Duncan Watmore and he played a big part, again, in our performance being a positive one on the road, didn't he?
QPR are a very good team. And if you watch them play, they want to be on the front foot and they want to dominate possession. And they've got like a big lump up top that likes to play and gives people a hard time in Lyndon Dykes. They're a quality team. I think when Middlesbrough played them, for me, it was the way we pressed high up the pitch didn't allow them to play. So then what they had to do is they had to go to the full backs and then they went long. And then when they went long, we had Teesside Steel that was winning most of the headers. And I think personally for the QPR performance was for me one of the most well-rounded performance, if not the most well-rounded performance of the season. And I'd agree we were unlucky not to get the win. Maybe if Lumley hadn't have done that, we'd have been on the end of 3 points because I think the way we control possession was spectacular. When they had it to what we want to do is when we go over the full backs, when we get it to the wing backs, in Taylor and Jones, they want to play it into the striker's feet quickly. So the strikers pull out wide and they play it quickly into the feet. And they were doing that just effortlessly. And the strikers were holding it up. The ball was sticking. It was really brilliant to watch. And then we now know, and we've become accustomed to Wilder ball, which goes from left to right or right to left until there's a space that starts to open up on one of the flanks that we can exploit and then attack the box. And we were doing it over and over. And for me, I look at the Derby result. The Derby result was good, but it wasn't as QPR
Jacob,
performance.
can I just interrupt? So we call it Wilder ball now. So what's the difference now as a Boro fan watching the ball going from side to side, from wing to wing, than what it did under Warnock? What's your take on that?
Went backwards.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the centre halves that were getting more touches of the ball than anyone else, wasn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's because, like you say, we're 20 yards further up the pitch, and it's absolutely fantastic to watch.
Because of the way the midfield play, the Cruxy obviously plays out to the right, and then Tav to the left, and they drift wide as the centre backs push forward. So they give them these options on the wings, and they create this overload on each side. And I was speaking to James earlier. It's very difficult to defend against that when you're in the final third, because you've got to commit bodies. If you commit bodies, you leave gaps. So
especially when one of your centre halves are getting involved as well and overlapping your midfielder and your fullback. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's absolutely great to watch.
Watching Jicksteel just gallop past George. There he's off again.
Yeah, absolutely unbelievable.
Well, obviously, the viewers are already commenting on about a certain person's performance against QPR last week in Joe Lumley. And there's one or two. I've got Luke Boy's been in touch saying, I don't trust Lumley one bit. David Olsen said, though, Tony, that he's not Lumley's biggest fan, but do you think we're judging him harshly in comparison to how the outfield players are playing so well at the moment? And maybe it's his first real season of playing and being a number one as a goalkeeper. Do you think maybe fans are being overcritical of him, or do you think no?
No, I don't think fans are being overcritical. Like you say, he's got a mistake in him every game, James. It's not as if it's every 3 or 4 games. He's got a mistake in him every game. But what we need to realise now as fans, Lumley's our first, it's Wilder's first choice goalkeeper. And what we've seen up to now, you can't go against what Wilder's picking. You know what I mean? He's picking a winning team nearly every week. Well, for the last 6 games at home, he's picked a winning team. Yeah, he may be our weakest link, but he's our number one. And even though he's getting lots of stick on here and on social media, you don't hear it as much in the ground. You know what I mean? There's not much getting fired at him, especially where I sit in the south stand, 3 rows back. And you don't hear no criticism, at all fired at him. So we've just got to go with what we've got at the moment, and hopefully it's good enough to keep us in the position where we are now, or, like you say, touch wood, push us further up the table.
Yeah.
Do you know what, mate? I totally agree with that, because I think where we're at, and even though he's bringing the players on, isn't he, to do the interviews just before the game, and I think we're building a bond between fans and players, and I'd agree with you. I think Lumley is our weak link. I think he's got a lot of attributes that get missed. I know he had that clanger against United, but I do think he has good feet for a keeper. I think he has got a good shot stop in him. I know we all say every keeper should do it, and I agree totally. He clangers it too much. But what I noticed from him, he has a lot of passion, and he shows it to the fans as well. The shithousery that comes out of him is on par with Matt Crooks.
Yeah.
Like, I love it when a striker misses a shot and he runs up to that. We love that as well, don't we? And I think just like Guesty said there is, the hand is our hand and it's been drawn and that's it. Like, we've got Lumley, Daniels and Solbrin. We've never seen the young lad in first team action. So the other one you've got to pick is Daniels. And to be honest, out the 2, what I've seen, I'd have Lumley in than Daniels anyway, because I think he's got better feet for how the team plays. Yeah. So just like Guesty said, it's like we need to get behind the full spirit of the team now and not dig anyone out. And I think we've stopped doing that with Tav, for example, where he's probably done that himself through his performances. But you can see there's not a team now in the league that's going to play Boro and think, we should probably give him a good dust in here. Not a team, not even Fulham. I think Fulham would think, this isn't we're not going to turn him over. We're going to have to.
Well, remember the first game of the season, Fulham, we were all expecting a good hiding down at Craven Cottage. Yeah. You know what I mean? Under Warnock, and we came away from there with a positive result. So, and under this fella now, our performances are just improving every week. And I don't fear anyone at the moment, Jacob. Yeah, no one at all.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And Jacob, I mean, I was just going to say, sorry, mate. They showed a lot of resilience again. They went 1-0 down. Dale Fry equalised at the end of the first half. And in the second half, Albert Adoma returned the favour with an own goal. Got his 24th goal.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, that goal, it owed a heck of a lot to Isaiah Jones. You haven't been on the last few weeks, but his reputation again, Messiah Jones, as some are now calling him. There's a lot of hype and speculation around the lad. But how fortunate are we to be watching him at the minute?
He's unbelievable. I couldn't. I'll probably echo everything that everybody says, but Spence is like a poor Isaiah Jones, in my opinion. But honestly, I mean, we're actually blessed to have two of the best right backs in the league. I know we haven't seen Jones as a right back, but yeah, he's brilliant. And the thing is, I almost want to say, like, I want to critique him, but his defensive abilities are just as good to me as his going forward. He got caught out against United, but he's playing against Jadon Sancho, and you're getting into a different level there, because it's not about speed and skill; it's about the precision and accuracy and where he positions himself. So you're going to expect him to, because he's been at Queen of the South, Middlesbrough. But I think every part of his game, as I watch, is brilliant. And of course, like every wing back that's an attacking wing back, he's going to lose the ball. He has to lose, because he commits himself. But the way he plays, and I think, to be honest, he owes a lot to Crooks. He owes a lot to Jicksteel, who overlaps him, because the way that we press up the pitch creates the space for him to drive into. So I think that if you're in a different system with wing backs that don't have the overlapping, then he's not going to have as much joy, because a defender doesn't have to try and track Jicksteel, so they can double up on him. But you can't double up on him if Jicksteel's running past him. Yeah. So he owes some honours to the lads around him as well. But he's a revelation, isn't he? His skill, his final ball. You can't say anything that's really bad about him, can you?
I could sit here now and just talk about him for an hour. I absolutely love him. I think he's amazing. Earlier on in the season, I was getting pelters off Frosty. Is it Paul off the TV who used to do this? Yeah, and a couple of Boro lads saying there's no end product. He doesn't know what he's doing. The previous two games of that, he'd scored one and laid the other winner on in the other game. You know what I mean? I'm thinking, what are these people watching? That kid is the best thing that's happened to this club for years. He's exciting. He's attacking. He wins the ball back. The first goal on Saturday, you know, you think, you know, you're chasing a lost cause, son. Just stand up. Next thing, he turns around, he's got the ball at his feet, and he's putting it in the 6-yard box again. Everything good that we do comes through Jones. Or Jones Inio, I've been calling him as well this weekend, because I absolutely adore him. He's one of the best players I've seen in a Boro shirt for a long time. And like you say, Jacob, along with Crooks and Dyke-Steele, the overlapping, you know, does create space for him to go at defenders. And it's so good to watch. So good to watch.
Yeah. There's a lot of people here sharing the love for Isaiah Jones. One or two people are a little bit worried that we may lose him in the summer if we don't go, but I suppose we'll deal with that issue if that happens.
We've just got to keep telling everyone he's shite.
I know Maddo started that up at the weekend, and and elsewhere saying, 1 out of 10 for his performance at the weekend, and it was pretty shoddy, to be honest. I mean, he did nothing, so
let's not overhype him. You know what I mean?
I mean, going back to the QPR game before we move on to the Derby match, lads. Tony, was the only disappointment for you was that we didn't win the game, and also at the end of the match, the injury with Martin Piero?
Yeah, like you say, disappointed us not winning, but you know, to come back twice from going a goal behind, then going 2-1 down, and still having the mettle and the foresight to go forward and get back into the game. And then for Piero to come on, and like you say, it was so late for him to come on. And, you know, it looked like he dived in. It didn't look nothing till you seen the replay. And obviously, you seen the shape of his leg. So let's just hope it's not too serious. You know what I mean, James? I don't know if there's been anything said today. I know they were saying last week that the swelling hadn't gone down and they couldn't get a scan on it. So hopefully he's just badly twisted his ankle, and it's nothing more serious than that, James.
Yeah, I think the last I heard, Tony, was Chris Wilder said he certainly won't be back within a month. So, but I think it's looking at longer term than that even. So,
right.
It wasn't great news, was it?
No. It's unfortunate, isn't it? You know, he put in a few decent performances under Warnock, which, like you say, Warnock didn't even fancy him. That shows he wasn't a Warnock sign. And we've had a new manager come in, and he's been injured, and then obviously he's trying to work his way back into the first team. And like you say, it's a shame for the kid.
Yeah,
you know, might give him some time to learn a bit of English anyway, without having to use Leo as a interpret there all the time.
I think for some of the fans as well, though, the positive from that is that when they were signing Riley McGree and they wanted Hendrick, I was thinking to myself, well, where's Piero gone?
Yeah.
And the fact that Wilder came out in one of the press conferences and said, look, I want to bring impact players on like Piero, I started to think, get him. Because I wanted that little love story that got sparked up at the start to continue. I didn't want it to be he came from Banfield to Boro and ended up at Wigan. I wanted it to be, you know, that he did all right. Although I do think that he's almost victim of the fact that the midfield, I know he's injured now, but the midfield three are playing so well because he needs match fitness. Because I think when he gets on the ball, he's technically really good with his vision and his passing. But I feel like because he's not as fit as he needs to be, it passes him by a bit when it goes behind him. And his pressing just a yard off what Cruxey's would be or whatever. But I take the positive is that he got back in the mix. He looked like he deserved to be back in the mix and he was getting used as an impact player. So hopefully now when he gets back fit, like, and with other Boro fans as well, we can be like, wow, we're confident he's in it again. He's not just being cast out. He's looked at as one of the fundamentals of the squad going forward who can, you know, do something decent.
Yeah, Dan Shaw's with you on that one, mate. He said Wilder's come out and said he likes Piero, so he has a future with the club. Lee Thistlewaite's got in touch. It's a question for you both, lads. He said, we've mentioned Isaiah Jones, Matt Crooks, other players as well. Well, Lee Thistlewaite, thanks for watching. He's just said, if you had to pick a player of the season so far, who would it be? Is it so clear-cut that it would be Isaiah Jones by a country mile? Or, I mean, there's so many players that have really contributed so far this season, hasn't there? What would you say, Tony?
Well, like you say, Tav gets... Like you say, it's the Stewie Downing syndrome. Tav, the position he plays off the cuff. He tries to play the ball forward. It's not going to work. He's on every dead ball. Every dead ball's not going to end up on a Boro player's head. You know, so I think the fans are starting to cut him some slack now because he gives 100% every game for me, Tav. And Wilder's come in and Wilder sees it day in, day out in training. And he's come out and said, that kid's a good footballer. And when your manager's saying that, you shouldn't be criticising the lad when he's getting picked week in, week out by the new manager. So, yeah, Tav comes in for a lot of unfair criticism. And when people really start to watch him and realise the position he plays and what he's trying to do for the team, passing the ball forward, yeah, he does give it away, but he's only giving it away by trying to make us progress, for us to get forward. So, yeah, Tav for me, week in, week out, gives 100% in a Boro shares. Along with, you can't look much further than Johnny Howson every season he's been here. But, yeah, Tav.
Go on, Jacob. I know you're itching to get involved on this one.
Do you know what? Like, I love that Guesty said that, you know. Like, I wouldn't say Tav's been the player of the season, right? But I love that he said that because, for me, he is the most talented player in that team. And I think he's got the ability to go the furthest in that team, perhaps bar Balogun, because I think he's got something about him. I think, as a talented player in his position, Tav's probably the most talented in the team, in my opinion. However, I wouldn't give him player of the season because I think some of his performances have been under par at times. For me, I think it'd go between Jonesy and Cruxey. And the reason that I'd probably edge Cruxey is because the fella scored 9 goals in all competitions from centre mid. And we've been crying out for someone who can bang a goal in other than a striker. And we haven't even had strikers that can do it. And he might flatter to deceive it sometimes because I think Crooks can be a bit sloppy. That's been the last 2 games. I think Howson and Tav have outshone him. but he ends up on the end of it. And that's like it's like when you get a striker who just somehow ends up on the end of it. He's not great. He's not doing all these flamboyant things, but he gets the job done. And he pops up when he needs to pop up, and he ticks the play, and he seems to dictate the pace of things. So for me, I would go Crooksy, but if Jonesy was here, I'd be like, I'm sorry, mate, you've been mint, but he's bang nining.
Jonesy's the most obvious choice for all of us. I was just going for someone who doesn't get the credit they deserve. But can I just say something there on strikers, Jacob? The kid at Sheffield United, Billy Sharp.
Yeah.
He's broke the record, hasn't he, for the most goals in the Championship. And that got my brain ticking, that, James, because I think, is it something like 120-odd goals since 2004?
They're only counting it since it became the Championship, in 2004,
And so we all go on about these prolific strikers. That's less than 10 goals a season.
Yeah. But I suppose if you're a team that does well, you're going to go up, aren't you? That's the thing.
Yeah, but it still only averages out. It's still less than 10 goals a season, isn't it? We're all wanting this superstar striker to be banging 15, 20 goals a season in. It just shows you how difficult it is to do it in the Championship.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it when they said he's only scored something like 121, 122 goals when he broke the record.
Yeah.
And then they said since 2004. I thought they were going to say like from 2015 or something, you know what I mean?
You brought a good point up there, though, James, is that when they do score a goals, they usually get signed by Prem teams. So then that stat goes out the window. Like Asombalonga looked absolutely brilliant, but we didn't think he was that brilliant, even though he bagged 15 and stuff. Like he was on cards a mint Championship striker, but you'd have swapped him. I would have swapped him as well.
Before we leave the QPR game, one last thing, Jacob, and I think this is symptomatic of everything that's going around the club at the minute in terms of the feel-good factor. I mean, it was just under 2,200 Boro fans that went to QPR on a Wednesday night. I think we've already sold over 1,700 tickets to go to Bristol City on Saturday. There's just a great feeling around the town towards the club from the fans at the minute. It's just building, isn't it?
I mean, what do you say about that? We sell out everything. We sell it out. I went to get tickets for Barnsley. I'm a season ticket holder. I went to get tickets for Barnsley. I clicked on sold out. I was like, you're joking, aren't you? And they sold another 250. That got sold out. So yeah, we support them. And look at how the fans go on. How the team going about the fans. And I know you expect it at every club, but I think there's something very special me with Boro's away supporters. I'm trying to be unbiased. But if I look, for example, at Derby, and I know we're going to go on to that, but there was a bit of flavour in that bout that they could have been a little bit louder, in my opinion. Like if I was in that, I'd be going mental. I mean, people were having like big inflatable dicks and stuff. I'd be going crazy with that, but they were being a bit chill.
They were reserved, weren't they?
Yeah, but when Boro are there, I don't know, around me, it's going off constantly. Yeah. And I look at, like, I don't know about you lot, but I go on the fan pages after the opposite team. Mm-hmm. And literally every game, they were ridiculously loud. They were one of the best we've had it this season, la, 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 la. And the ones that were pissed off would say stuff like, oh, we couldn't even hear them. But you're always that. But most of them, they do actually say that. Yeah. So for me, I think we support them home and away now. And even at home, we're getting louder. I've noticed I sit in the family stand because I've got my young boy and I don't want it going off too much in the south. But you look at the last game, the North was singing, our stand was singing, because I want it like that. I remember when we were in the Premiership when I was a kid, and my granddad used to take me to the matches, and everywhere would sing, like the full standard sing. And I think like getting that back in action, because when the Riverside's packed out, you know, it's going to be against, for example, when we play Tottenham, when it's packed out and it's bellowing and people are going off it, there's no place I'd rather be.
Well, boys, we'll get on to the weekend's game now. Today's Valentine's Day guest, but there was certainly no love in the air on Saturday between Boro and Derby County.
Oh, thanks, James.
I'll give you this one, mate. But there was the agreement reached the day before between Mel Morris and Steve Gibson. Do you think that will end the bad blood between the two club more like the sets of fans, or do you think this is just something that's going to go on and on now, Tony?
I think the die's cast now, isn't it? I think it's just going to run and run now, like Leeds and our relationships with them type of teams, Millwall, whatever. it's just going to run and run now. But Derby fans, are we back?
Yeah,
are we back?
Just about making out tone.
Can you? Right. What I'm saying, I hope we're back here. What I'm saying is, what the Derby fans do, Derby owner Mel Morris keep losing you.
Oh, see, we've lost Tony there.
I think
one of
him.
You've been infiltrated by our spies in the East Midlands or something, here, Tony.
Must be, yeah.
Get away,
McGree.
Do you want to try again, mate?
Right, I think the Derby fans are, they're backing up the wrong tree for me, because Gibson's problems, beef wasn't with the fans, with the club. It was with Mel Morris for being a cheat, and he wanted back what basically he cheated Gibson out of. They've come to this agreement now. God knows what the agreement is, because I think, didn't I read Gibson was after 40 million, and if Mel Morris has managed to find a spare 40 million lying about before Saturday's game, Derby County shouldn't be in such a big problem, in such big trouble. But yeah, it added a bit of spice. Maybe it got hyped up a bit too much in the press and among fan groups. It was a bit silly, really. Seeing a gang of 30, 40 Boro fans having a right go before kick-off to 2 Derby County fans. And I just walked up to the young lad and I said, well, you's lot are really showing them too, aren't you? You know what I mean? I thought, just get in there and just go watch a game of football. But obviously, their fans, their passion's running really high at the moment. The club's still in turmoil. They still don't know whether they're going to get bought out. Rooney's doing an absolutely unbelievable job with them, by the way. But I thought they were a bit subdued on Saturday, not just the fans. I thought the way they performed, they just didn't seem up for it on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And like you say, it just added a bit more spice to a great day, James, at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And it was fantastic.
Yeah. Jacob, with regards to matters on the pitch, before the game, when the team was announced an hour before kickoff, where I was in the north stand on the concourse. There was 1 or 2 murmurs of discontent when it was mentioned that he was going Balogun and Connolly up front. Now, I think, in fairness, in hindsight, after the game, both those players showed why Chris Wilder was so keen to bring him here, didn't he?
Yeah, to be honest, I was really surprised when that got announced, because it would have probably been one of my last pairings that I'd have thought would have been picked together, because of the youth, because Connolly hasn't set the world alight, because Balogun, he's only had been on the pitch a little bit. He hasn't really done, he played him from the start of United, but that was really it. I think out the front, I was impressed with both of them, but Connolly filled my heart with the most joy. Yeah. Because I feel like he's the Balogun's the kid who's come from Arsenal on 40k a week, and he's going to hit the stars anyway. It's almost like it's already written for that kid. You can see he's got this natural ability, and it's almost like he's in third gear, and eventually it'll click, and it's going to click for him. You can see it. He's just got this bit about him. Connolly a little bit different for me. He needs to be a little bit more of a workhorse. He needs to close down. He's a terrier when he's on the ball. He hasn't got the same kind of footwork and this panache that Balogun has. But for me, he was exceptional. Like, I'm so glad that goal was given to him. I wouldn't have given it if I was a ref, but I'm glad it was given to him, because I just thought that his overall display. In fact, I left the match and I said to Harry, he goes, "Who do you think my son has?" He goes, "Who do you think was man of the match?" I went, "Connolly." I'd give it to Connolly. And it was because of the way he closed from the front. And you've got to think about the formation that you play. It's not just about, like, Howson should have got it for being on the ball. Like, on the ball, he was exceptional. But Connolly closed everything, tracked back, won balls back. When he wins a ball back and you get a throw in there, you're halfway up the pitch. You wouldn't be that if it went down the line. So I think they worked really well together. But if I think about the whole picture of the strike force, I love the headache I've got, because Sporer offers something that I don't think any of them have, and he's got a technical know-about where he finds space that I don't think the others find that space. He drops off. He almost acts as a 10. He finds a space and he dictates the way the final third does. And Watmore has this very weird way of running at players where they can't tackle him. He doesn't have all the skill in the world. He just changes dark. He just does that like Roadrunner. He changes direction, but they can't tackle him.
He's like an Etch-a-Sketch footballer.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything apart from that. All over. Just does this.
When the kids won't know what Etch-a-Sketch is, though, mate. Do you know what Etch-a-Sketch is? Can you remember that?
Yes, the only.
Jacob,
I'm only 31, me. I don't know.
I've still got one.
That's the one.
My age is Buffett. Remember Buffett?
Yeah. Tony, I mean, talking about what happened in the end of the game.
I've still got one upstairs somewhere.
Tony, that's the one. Tony, I was going to say, actually, the first half, I thought Derby looked at times more composed on the ball than us, especially while it was one each. But again, as we've talked about earlier in the show, Johnny Howson, Marcus Tavernier, they got a grip of the game. And yes, we got those goals just before half-time, but you can't underestimate the contribution those two lads made on Saturday, can you? Well, have we lost you again, Tone?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yeah, go on. You answer it, Jacob.
Hey, what'd you say again?
Just saying about the Derby looked a bit more composed at times in that first half. I know he ended up 3-1 at half-time, but eventually Howson and Tavernier, they got to grips with things in that midfield, and we overran them towards the end of the half.
Yeah, well, Derby were decent. I agree with what Rooney said, actually, after the game. I thought that in the first half, we were about even. I think where we probably did a little bit better is we kept them in their final third longer than they kept us in our final third. See, if you watch the game, Derby were in our final third, they were straight back out of it, and that's because they didn't have enough bodies forward. But we had so many bodies forward, we can pin them back. So they're a tidy team, and they weren't losing possession easily. They were keeping possession. They were knocking it between them like pretty well. I thought actually they were a decent team. I think the way that we play though exploited it and didn't really allow them to do too much. So as you said there, the way that we play, Tav gets space in certain places, and he was exceptional. Howson was exceptional. Crooks did what he needed to do whilst not being exceptional, in my opinion. And again, like I would, you know what? I'm going to echo what Wilder says. You can't segregate the team and say it's the midfield or the defence or this, because they all have to work. It's like the work is like an atom, just together. Like they move together, they move up together, back together. If one of them's out, because if you think about it, in that system, if let's say Connolly doesn't press, so the midfield, so the fullback runs up. He runs up into space, and Connolly hasn't pressed him, which leaves space. So the midfielder has to come across, which leaves space in behind him. It's like a game of chess with the Wilder formation. It's not your regular 4-4-2 or whatever. So it has to be that way. So I think they all work together brilliantly.
Yeah. Tony, you're back with us, pal. Are you there, Tony?
I hope so, mate. It's just interesting listening to Jacob. I love it.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, Tony. We're talking about midfield. Good man. Talk about the midfield. What was your take on the challenge? It hasn't been spoken about much. The challenge of Matt Crooks in the first half. I know there was one or two complaints from the Derby end that he should have maybe had a red card. What was your take on it, Tony?
Am I going to have to answer again?
Tony's passing again.
Tony must just think, you know what, I'm done for this.
Are you there, Tone? No, I'll give that one to you, Jacob. Crooks' challenge.
They're tapping into him. It's the Mackhams. Oh, he's great. God.
He's had enough. It was a word mentioned Mackhams. That was it. He's off.
He'll come back on with the Sunderland top on. What did you say, mate?
What did you make of Crooks' challenge? What did you make of it, pal? Did you think it was a red card, or do you think Mike Dean got it right on a yellow?
Honestly, I haven't seen a replay. I've seen something a little bit on Twitter, but I only seen a picture. So I can't, honestly, mate, I can't comment. But what I will do, for the sake of being a Boro fan, and say it shouldn't have even been a booking.
Tony, you're back, mate.
Yeah, I just caught the end of that. I agree with Jacob. And so, like you say, I don't think there was much in it. So lally, man.
Tony, man, you've been captured by the Daleks, are you, mate?
Sounds like you're staying on them helium balloons to me.
Are we there?
Guess he's still on wind-up internet. Steve Walker said, "Howie, mate, you need to get that gerbil running a bit faster on there, pal."
Oh, God. I'm gonna have to stop running it on next doors, aren't I?
Check your electric out as well while you're at it.
Oh, no chance, man. That's why you're up the lamppost outside, Jacob. That proper Grangetown lad.
Tony, we've been talking about Matt Crooks there. He did stay on the pitch. He only got a yellow, and then he got the third goal. Do you think that third goal knocked the stuffing out of Derby with it coming just before half time?
Yeah, especially when they just got back into the game. You know what I mean? And there were so many people missed out on them 3 goals because I missed Crooks's goal. I'd gone down the concourse, and the amount side missed Derby's. Oh God, I keep going off. I'm gonna go and track that Wi-Fi box further down this corridor.
All right, mate. We've only got about 15 minutes left of the show, but yeah, you do that and be all right, pal.
He's gone again. Oh, God.
Jacob, what I was going to mention as well with regards to Saturday's game, we got our first glimpse of Riley McGree in a Boro shirt. What did you make of his first outing for the Boro?
It was George Saville, wasn't it?
Looks a bit like him, yeah.
No, he did. He looked a spitting dab of him. But, yeah, he looks snappy. He looks good on the ball. He looks comfortable. He looks very, very quick on the ball, which I think from the wilder formation that you play, you need to be. He looked forward thinking. Yeah, I like the look of him. But again, you've got to think he played, what, was it 20 minutes, 25 minutes?
Yeah.
So I reserve judgment till he plays, a good portion of a game. And to be fair, I reserve judgment till he has 5 or 6 games in him. You need to see him over a period of time. I think, too many people start to judge people after 1 or 2 games. But if you've ever played football yourself and you're playing with a new group of lads, like when I go into a team, if I play with a new group of lads, it doesn't click like that. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I am, but I could be better than them. But if when you're playing together and you don't really know how each other play, it takes time. So for me, he looks good. He looked technically good. And I think the next, 5, 6 games until he gets into it, we'll be able to tell a bit more than what he's about.
Yeah. Paul Nicholas has got in touch. He said McGree looks a baller already. He looks so comfortable on the ball. Tony, we were talking about Riley McGree and his debut in a Boro shirt. And again, it's just another option that we can bring off the bench. And again, it just shows that we've got more and more strength in depth, doesn't it, Tone?
Yeah, he looked, like you say, going back to Piero's introduction to the Boro, when he made his debut, to see McGree, when he came on, he looked like he's been at the club forever. He just seemed to fit into wherever Wilder wanted him to play on Saturday. And he looked, like you say, he looked like he'd been at the club for a long time.
Yeah. And Tony,
really impressed.
Tony, it's some achievement, whatever division you're in. That's 6 home wins in a row now. And that takes some doing. It's been a long time. I don't know off the top of my head when it last was that Boro won 6 league games at home in a row. But Wilder's certainly got them firing, definitely at the Riverside, hasn't he?
Like you say, we've been saying it for a long time now, James. We need to make the Riverside a fortress, and Wilder's come in, and like you say, he's absolutely tearing the place up. And God, you've waited so long to come away from the Riverside feeling like you did on Saturday. Not like you did from one of Pulis's wins. You know what I mean? One of Pulis's wins where, what's he laughing at him?
Danny May. Guessed he's made more appearances in this show than Johnny Howson.
Class, absolutely class.
Honestly, mate, be the best one I've done by a country mile.
I don't think we'll ever forget this show, lads, will we?
Yeah. I'm not going to change my provider now because it's entertaining.
Who's your provider, mate? Stay Ventos.
No, he plays for Juventus, him, doesn't he?
Hey, Tony, bringing it back on to serious matters again. The Riverside was rocking, like Jacob said earlier on. We've got 7 league games left, and I didn't really realise till yesterday the teams we've got left to play at home. You've got all the teams around us. We've got Luton, we've got Huddersfield, Stoke, Fulham. We've got some really big games still to come at the Riverside at the back end of this season, and the fans can play a big part in that as well as what the lads are doing on the pitch, can't they?
Well, like you say, there was 26,000 there Saturday, they reckon. I felt there was more there on Saturday than what they actually said there was, you know what I mean?
Did, yeah.
You know, so whether the old Ayson Park gatekeeper's got his job back at the Riverside, I don't know. You know what I mean? But it was rocking on Saturday. And like you say, people come on the air and criticise our own fans, saying they're all glory supporters. If they buy a ticket for the game and they fill that stadium, you know, I don't care if it's the first game or the 100th game they've been to, you know, they're still a Boro fan. And it's like you say, it just fills your heart with joy when you start to see that Riverside starting to fill up again. And like you say, just went away with a totally different feeling on Saturday to what I've had for a long time. Like you say, we've had good wins under Pulis, we had good wins under Warnock, but they were one-offs. This is... He's putting some consistency into our home appearances now, and it's a joy to be there, and it's great to watch.
Yeah, and Peter Mack, I think he says what a lot of Boro fans are feeling at the minute, Jacob. And he said, "I go every week now thinking we're going to win, and I've never had that feeling for ages." I know what you've seen because I've seen it as well. But you do, and it's been a long time. Not just the home games, but away games as well, Jacob. We feel as though we're going to win, don't we?
I really want to give a calculated answer, but I can't. Honestly, he's cracked me up since he came back the last time. I've been chewing on my knuckles so I don't laugh. You're thinking about putting it on mute. Oh, God. What did you say?
Who said that?
Was it Dab?
Mark Knott.
Yeah.
Last.
How much have we got left?
James, start putting a block on all them ones, Jim.
Oh, I will do, mate.
Calm Jacob down.
Do you know what?
Just saying though, if everyone feels really optimistic now, no matter who the opposition are, home or away, you feel as though, yeah, we can win this game. Nothing's impossible at the minute for the Boro. Yeah,
I think the way that we press teams high up the pitch, we don't give them time to play. I think if we get a team in their final third, that's where we start to dominate. Or even if we can push them back from pushing us forward, if we can start to press, I can see you fighting you. If we can press, right, and not let them get the ball and ping it in behind us, we're laughing. By the way, if you look back at this, right, in a couple of weeks' time, it'll be the best Boro fan TV in a while.
Oh, I haven't laughed so much for ages.
We're going to win the league, right? Janino's coming back and Boxtich will be up front next Christmas.
Well, on that note, boys, we'll move on to Bristol City at the weekend. Tony, just the one game to preview this week. But bear in mind, obviously, I think after this week, we've got Saturday midweek for the next 4 weeks. So I think Chris Wilder obviously want to take advantage of the fact that it is just a 1-game week and put a bit of work in on the training pitch, but get everybody sorted out for the battles ahead as well, won't he? Yeah.
Like you said, he's got all this week for planning. Let Jacob needs to calm down. He's going to have me going again here. Yeah. He's got all week.
I can shoot off if you want it. You can finish it off.
He's got all week. He's got all week to get him sorted this week, James. So, like you say, it's Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday in the next 4 weeks, whatever it's going to be. And he's not one for changing things, James, is he? You know what I mean? So I don't think we're going to see that many changes with that many in them many. Like with all the games that we've got to play, because he seems to stick. Apart from Saturday when he changed the two up top, but was his hand forced a bit there? We're bringing them players in on loan to go with them two up top, but like you say, two great performances off both of them on Saturday. So is this the way forward? Like you say, I don't think he's going to change much, James. And like you say, he's got a full week to prepare him for the Bristol City game, and hopefully we can keep, like you say, keep on a decent run. And I'd be disappointed if we come back from Bristol with just a point, the way they've been performing this season. So, hopefully a good 3 points on Saturday.
Jacob, I was surprised. I mean, Tony, I think probably echoes what a lot of Boro fans feel. It's not arrogance, it's just confidence in the team at the minute. But I didn't realise till yesterday, Bristol City haven't won consecutive games all season. They're 17th in the table, obviously managed by ex-Boro captain Nigel Pearson, but they just seem to be very inconsistent this season, don't they?
They do, but they've got people who can score, and that's what you've got to watch out for, really, because it's one of those games where you go one behind and everyone sits behind the ball and they ask you to break them down. You don't want that to happen. So for me, I fancy Boro for about a 4-2, something like that. Like
4-2.
Very, very, very open.
Yeah.
Outscore them because the defense is terrible, but they might bag a couple.
Well, Tony, I mean, they've won 6, drawn 5, lost 5 at home this season, Bristol City. We won there 1-0 last year when McGree, it was George Saville scored the goal. But it's always a tough place to go, Ashton Gate. I know you've been there a few times as well before. So, irrespective of how they're playing, it's not going to be a gimme on Saturday, is it?
No. I like to say, I've got to say, it's a great place to go watch football as well. I love going to Ashton Gate, absolutely great stadium. And it's a tough place to go. And like you say, we came away with 3 points last season. But I've seen us down there with a couple of stinkers, you know what I mean? Especially the R5 kickoff on a Saturday night, travelling all the way down there. And I think it was about, three seasons ago. And it's one of the worst Boro performances I've seen us ever put in. So hopefully,
last games, wasn't it, pal?
I think so. Yeah, we were absolutely dreadful.
Yeah,
and so hopefully, like you say, with this bloke in charge now, anything's possible. There's been a lot said this week about best managers in the league, and I think we've got the best manager in the league at the moment. You can have your whatever he's called at Fulham Silver. This man here is what he's doing with our squad is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been very fortunate, Jacob, to get Chris Wilder when we did. I think it's just circumstances because West Brom were apparently looking at him, didn't choose to take him on, got Ishmael in instead. Don't set us off again, lads. And then
then
I'm not even looking at the
and you're asking me.
I'm not even looking at the comments anymore now because I just can't look at them cracking us up. But obviously, Newcastle got Eddie out and stuff like that. So we were lucky to get Wilder, and the decision to get him in at the time, obviously with Warnock going and people were a little bit reluctant for him to go, but it was just meant to be, wasn't it?
Chris Sykes has just put, do you think Chris Wilder could sort Tony's internet out? Oh, but
it says I'm wired up now.
He's the best signing we've had. He's absolutely fantastic. Everything we've talked about tonight, everything we've talked about from the front pressing to the back being good to Isaiah Jones being a revelation, it's because of him. Because the way he plays, it's the space he gives Jonesy. It's the way he lets the strikers drift wide so they can.
I told you go as well.
You are.
Need a damage area.
I think I might have just lagged a bit.
Yeah, don't worry, you're back with us, mate. I think it's just one of them tonight. Boys, we'll go up with the predictions before we end the show. Before I tell you what, we just send the internet crashing again for the whole of the world, probably. I don't know. What's the score going to be on Saturday? I know you've gone big earlier there, Jacob. You still stand by that? You think there'll be plenty of goals in the West Country on Saturday?
I think Boro have got a few in them against that defence. I think it'll be at home. They won't. I can't imagine they want to sit back that much. I'm going to change it 4-1.
4-1. Ooh, 4-1. Tony, you that optimistic? Everyone's going Boro win here. You've got 4-0.
Lumley on goal.
Well, go on, Tony. What's your prediction?
Like you say, Wilder's not happy with our goals ratio against our shots. Our percentage to shots, with which we turn into goals, and hopefully, hopefully it's 4-4-4-2. I'm gonna go 3-1.
3-1 to the Boro.
3-1 Boro, James.
Fantastic, boys. Well, everybody, that's your off for the Monday night show. I don't think we'll ever have one like this again in the future. But I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed the spirit that we've brought in tonight. Yes, it's been a bit of football chat, but we've had a bit of a laugh as well, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Tony, Jacob, thanks very much for coming on. You lads made the show as well. Really enjoyed it, boys. If you haven't done so already, this is just a taste of what it's like normally on a Monday night with us lads. Make sure you subscribe to Boro Fan TV. Also, check out our Twitter content. There's loads of good stuff on there as well for you Boro fans to check out. We'll be back next Monday night, internet permitting. But from us all at Boro Fan TV, until then, good night, have a good week, and up the Boro.
Up the Boro.
Up the Boro.